Welcome to the Life, Death and Happiness podcast. My name is Daniel, and in each episode we delve into the most personal and profound stories from people living with Fanconi Anemia. In this episode I sit down and have a great talk with Anna Starner, who's my special guest tonight. Please welcome her. Welcome to this episode of Life, Death and Happiness. With me today I have Anna Starner. I hope I didn't butcher your name too much.
You're good.
And you're from Houston, Texas, or at least that is where you live now.
Yes.
Live now. That was Danish new now. Oh my God, what a start. Welcome! It's nice to have you. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
So I am now in Houston. I do scientific research here. And I have my 2 dogs and a boyfriend, and the family just moved to Tennessee, so that's exciting. I now have a new niece. So yeah, it's kind of boring around here, but that's good sometimes.
That's kind of good, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you? I have to ask this question. What are your relationship with Fanconi Anemia?
I don't really have like much of an issue with it anymore. I was diagnosed when I was 20 years old, so 9 years ago in 2016. So it was kind of hard to come to grips with it for me it wasn't as hard to come to grips with it. For my parents it was. For me, I was like, I have an answer, I'm not crazy. So,
That's sometimes a good start.
yeah. Well, like, when I was diagnosed, I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy. So they do really well with injuries, not good with illnesses. So I pretty much kept having people saying like, "Oh, you're just faking it to like get medical discharge and all this other stuff." And then once things really kind of from like a Monday to a Friday, my white blood cell count dropped by 50%, and then they freaked out. They're like, "You might be telling the truth on this." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I know my body." So
And you didn't know yourself at that time, right?
no, I had no idea.
No idea at all. So it was a very big surprise to you too.
Yeah,
Like, what
it
is
took a
happening
lot.
here?
Yeah. I mean,
And
no
how
one really
did-
understood why a 20-year-old was having this. Like, I passed all the medical stuff at the academy. I was in like really good health. I don't have any like the hand abnormalities. I'm like 5'2", so I'm not like, I was always on like the shorter end, but not abnormally.
No,
So there
no,
was nothing apparent that was like, "Hey, you might have Fanconi anemia." So it took a
so there was
couple
no
months.
those typical tell signs that there was something off, odd or something off. You were just living a normal life, being you and doing, taking the education and getting into this, and then suddenly you was standing there and be like, "Oh, what is happening now?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you react to that?
I mean, at the time, so I kind of went through the ringer in 2016, because once I finally got my medical leave from the academy, like 3 days beforehand, I had a dizzy spell. Whoops, I keep doing this. I had a dizzy spell and fell off a counter while I was trying to pack, and I broke my ankle. And so the moment that we landed back at home, we rushed I was told to go straight to the ER, and then I had to go through surgery, all this other stuff. And once that was finally done, we were heading up to Tampa for all of these tests, and it was a long process. I wasn't quite in my right mind half the time because of painkillers from the foot stuff, the foot surgery, and we actually also had time beforehand. Once they diagnosed me with myelodysplastic syndrome, and then they started doing genetic testing. But as we were planning for transplant, they're like, okay, we have time to do fertility preservation. So we did that as well. Thank goodness we had time to do that.
Oh, that's a good thing you did that.
Yeah. If we would have known about the FA beforehand, we would not have had the time, because I had monosomy 7, which is one of the big red flag changes in your bone marrow. And so they said I had like 3 to 6 months before I got leukemia. That's with an FA diagnosis.
That's quite a big news to get, like, out of the blue. It's just like, okay, what did you say? It's a lot to suddenly have to deal with.
Yeah.
And comprehend. And actually, yeah.
I mean, I was just so ready to have something I could do to help my situation that I was just relieved. My parents were freaking out.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, that you took it rather well, but your parents was freaking out.
Yeah.
I could imagine that.
Yeah.
I think it's not very uncommon for us.
No.
So I don't think it's only for people with FA. I think a lot of people, if you have, if you have some self-confidence or some backbone, or if you're normally good at dealing with life and you get a diagnosis like this, then it's more like, okay, now I'm here, I have to deal with it. But it's the people around us who's freaking out.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, you gotta be so scared. No, I don't have time to be scared right now.
Yeah.
I need to go through surgery. I mean, you just get into a certain mindset that it's just, you can call it survival instinct. I don't know what to call it, but it's just like, you can't afford to freak out yourself.
No, not really. You just have to take the next step and just continue on and do what you need to do. And I guess my parents were kind of they also kind of had that sense. But they were having a harder time with it than I did at the time. And I think like afterwards, I don't really have as much of an issue with it. I mean, we all have our days. And it's like, the world is against me. I hate my life. FA stinks.
But it does.
It does.
I mean, come on, you're allowed to have those feelings.
Yeah. I mean, especially growing up in Florida, like, oh my goodness, all of those sunburns that I got. What did they do to my skin?
Have you had to deal with that already?
No. I actually haven't had to deal with any cancers except for like the bone marrow stuff. So I have had to deal with post-transplant hormone regulation. That's been a nightmare. And we've had a couple like spots that we've been like, oh, could this be? And then do some testing, and then it's not, or like, okay, this might be. Then we have to like send samples off and get even more stuff until they say, hey, it's good, we're good.
It's good, we're good, you're good. But that's a good thing. But I mean, I live in a country where we have like down to freezing degrees for like 5 months every year. It's like, so I would rather live in Florida and get a few sunburns. Even though I know it's not good for you, it's like, no, I would pick that any day.
I mean, I love being outside and especially just being at the beach, feeling that sea breeze on your skin, and then now it's just like you need to wear rash guards and you have to stay under the umbrella. You have to like layer a bajillion layers of sunscreen on just to be safe out here.
Yeah, but then again, do you smoke?
No.
Pardon me for asking. Do you drink?
Not
Because
not really, no.
no,
Like
no.
once in a while,
Then
I'll
you're
take a
allowed to
sip.
be out in the sun.
Yeah.
No, I always try to look upon it. You need to have some life quality at the same time
Yeah.
as dealing with FA.
Yeah.
When
When my
I
parents aren't
had my
around, I'll
first
be like,
cancer,
"Yay."
yeah, I have mentioned it a lot of times before. When I got my cancer in the mouth and the tongue,
Mhm.
I chose not to drink anymore, and I
Mhm.
have never smoked like normally. When I was
Yeah.
younger, I smoked other stuff I shouldn't. But it was easy for me to just say no, but they're not
Yeah.
taking the sun away from me.
Yeah.
As soon as it's nice weather here and it's getting
Mhm.
warmer, I'm outside in the sun. I'm not wearing big hats or sitting under an umbrella. No, 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 no. I need to be out in the sun and feel that on my skin. And
Yeah.
sometimes my hematologist is not so happy about that. So I thought it was smart. Usually I go to test once a year. And then I don't know, in the beginning it was in summer. Then, next time it
Mhm.
was maybe not 12 months between the next. And then it was 13 or 8.
Mhm.
So now I'm actually getting tested in the winter, which
Mhm.
suits me perfectly. Because then she cannot look at my skin and say, oh, you have been out in the sun.
I
So
actually have that for the
I
like.
have no more trouble with my doctors. Oh,
Yeah.
she kept
I
complaining.
went
So,
in one
you're
time.
not
I'm like, I only
listening.
got a little tan. They're like, you should not have any. I'm like, I live in Florida. At the time, I was living in Florida. I was going to school in
Yeah.
Miami. Like,
It's
I was in
almost
Miami. Come
impossible
on.
not to get.
I
Yeah.
know. And like, I didn't really put sunscreen on just to walk to and from classes. Like, I've gotten good about putting
Yeah.
face
So
stuff on. That's how.
you should definitely use sun lotion. Of course, you should do that. And
It's hard
even
to
my
do it
kids are
though.
after me because I forget it all the time. I
Yeah.
forget it, quote unquote. No, I just try to ignore it. And
Yeah.
sometimes my wife be like, yeah, now the kids, they have had their turn. And now, how about you? Did you remember? It's like, no. And I'm like, Daniel, 5 years old again. Okay, I know I should do it too. And even my kids sometimes now, my oldest is like, Daddy, I put sunscreen on. Why haven't you? And sometimes in the beginning, I try to trick him. I'm like, no, I put it on earlier. No, I watched you. You have not been out and taken the sun lotion. So
Yeah.
that's not great. You're not allowed to lie, Dad. I was like, hey.
I mean, it's hard to
Oh,
find something that doesn't feel like sunscreen, doesn't smell like sunscreen. You don't want to smell like
yeah.
sunscreen for the rest of your life. I know my brother was a lifeguard for during the summers in high school, and months later, I'd come up to him, I'd sniff his arm, and be like, "You still smell like sunscreen." He smelled like sunscreen for months, and that was just from the summer of always wearing sunscreen.
And this idea right here is how you can become rich. You have to find a way to make sun lotion that does not smell,
Yeah,
does not have that weird smell. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
It doesn't matter which brand you pick. It just have that. Oh. Yeah,
Mhm. The
I get
best
it.
that I've found is native sunscreen. I mean, it doesn't even leave like the white residue like in your elbow
Mm.
crease. So I've looked. I've tried like everything to see what is the best, and that has been my go-to. So I don't like the
And
little elbow crease like white bits.
no.
It gets everywhere. And you can't
And
wear a
this
black
was the
shirt
news from
either.
the. uh, Cannot say, but it's a thing that normal people, quote unquote, would never think about that. It's just like, yeah, okay,
No.
use it. But we keep hearing that you should do it. It's to protect yourself. And I've had skin cancer, but only like 2, and that's nothing compared to a lot of our peers. It's like, no problem here.
Yeah, I do my best, and hopefully it's good enough.
I hope so. But I totally feel you on this, yeah.
I mean,
so
even in
let me get back
Houston,
into
sun.
Yeah. It's definitely. I've never been. Only been to Austin. That's the only place in Texas I've been. That was at the meeting 2 years ago in the FA community. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but I love sunny weather. So
yeah,
and I've been looking at. Now this has become a weather channel. Sorry about that, folks. I've already been looking at the app because we have a meeting in North Carolina, like in a couple of weeks after this episode is recorded, and I've been sitting on my app for the last 3 weeks. Oh, how warm is it now? Because I mean, I need the warmth. I need the sun. So I just hope I will get to see it when I'm there.
Should
to get back into it. Back when you had your transplant.
Yes. Transplant. Yes. Totally.
Yeah, we got a bit off topic here, talking about sunscreen. Yeah. So your transplant.
Yeah.
So you got diagnosed, and suddenly your count was dropping, very very fast.
Yeah.
And you had to, like, as you said, you had to be focused while your parents was panicking a bit. And how did it actually go when you went in there? Did everything goes as planned? Oh.
Well, for the most part, yes. We were actually sitting at the beach when we got the call from my team in Tampa. I was going to Moffat at the time. And they're like, your brother is a 100% match, and you have another unrelated 100% match. So I was like, woof. And funny thing is, within like 5 minutes of us hearing that, I was getting texts from my cousins in West Virginia saying, congratulations. Like, my grandmother is very, very fast with getting news out. So.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, within a
did
month,
you end up
we
getting
were up
it from
there.
your brother?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was... We had actually... So we went up for, like, the initial stuff, all the initial testing, and then once we were up there, like, for the actual thing, my brother came, he got tested, he went back home because he was still in college, and we actually started... I had to have radiation and chemo. So we started... Normally they don't start any of that until the donor gets there.
Yeah.
They figured we could go ahead, and so we started radiation on the day my brother and my dad was supposed to come. But there was a hurricane in Florida.
Oh.
They got out of Orlando right beforehand. So everything was fine, but the whole entire transplant team, everyone was just watching the Florida weather.
Just like, oh no, this cannot be happening.
Yeah. So everything worked out, but that was kind of that was our close call. And then even during transplant, like, my transplant was just textbook. It went beautifully, I guess.
I'm glad to hear that, because that is the case for most people these days.
Yeah.
They have become so good at doing the transplant that is not... It's not a pleasure to go through. Of course, it's not. It's still hard as hell, but pardon my language. But it's manageable. It's all right. Something you have to go through, and most people go through it without too much trouble. I'm not trying to tell, if somebody listening to this are going into it, I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
Not by any metric at all. Yeah. But most people survive it today, and most people are going out on the other side feeling good and having less problems than before. So that I still think it's important to remember. But, I'm glad to hear it went kind of smooth.
Yeah. I mean,
so
we had
as much
some
as
like
possible.
potential, like I had some skin issues during that time, which were like, hopefully it's not graft versus host. It wasn't, so that was kind of the only like weird thing. But being diagnosed around like August and starting transplant in October.
That's fast, yeah.
I was, and being a Florida girl, in Minnesota in the dead of winter, doing a bone marrow transplant. It was it was cold. There was one day my mom and
I can imagine
just,
that.
Yeah. We were like, we never thought it'd gone to like in Fahrenheit minus 40, and then it went like to like 20 or like minus 20 or something. And my mom and I were like, we would never say that this was warm in normal life, but yeah, we're like, it's so warm. It's like 20 degrees outside. So I don't know what that is in Celsius.
No, I don't
Probably.
really. I've tried to. My brain doesn't work that way. I can't really figure out exactly what it is. So usually I try to avoid talking about degrees because I don't know how to translate it. If I was professional, I would sit with a special program or calculator on the side. But I'm not.
I mean, it was probably like minus 5 or 10. I don't know. I do in working in science, we do things by Celsius.
Yeah.
But I only know we have a minus 20-degree freezer. We have a minus 80-degree freezer. We have a 4-degree refrigerator. And we do a lot of things at 37 degrees incubation. So those are my only like temperature points I know.
Yeah, okay. In the winter, we don't. In Denmark, it's not as cold as it is in Sweden, Norway, and Finland, and the other Nordic countries here. So we're kind of lucky, but we still have like between 4 and 5 months normally, where it's around 0 degrees. It's not like we don't get a lot of snow. We don't get all the fun stuff. It's just piss cold most of the time. It's all the cold weather without the fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky if we have like 2 weeks of snow, maybe. It's like, and then it's like maybe this high. You can't see that. Maybe 20 centimeters. I don't know what that is. But that's not a lot. Up to your, maybe above your ankles or something like that. And if we go to Sweden and Norway, we have some friends in Norway. They have like up to your waist or to your shoulders, at least if you have FA. For normal people, that is probably the waist. But, but that's normal in the winter. So it's like, and it's like minus 15 degrees is normal for them. And I'm like, yeah, that's cold. And then people, when I come to America, I meet people from Brazil and other places like, oh, you're from the cold north. I say, yeah, it's cold, but it's not like the fun cold north part, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. We get like cold relatively we get to freezing sometimes in Houston. And we did have like we had snow actually the first year, a month or two after I moved to Houston. We had snow. And it wasn't really even enough to make a snowball, but you could have made it. It was it covered the ground, like you could see like the little dog prints in the snow. My dog was like, "Oh, what is this? Okay, cool.
This is weird.
Whatever."
Yeah, that's not snow.
Yeah.
So when you were in and you were when you were going through the transplant and you were it was kind of smooth and everything worked out well.
Yes.
But how did your family react to this new situation about you having FA? Not just going through transplant, but also like many people think that, oh, okay, you're going through a transplant, then after that, everything is okie dokie, no problems whatsoever. Now you're good to go, you are healthy, you're blah, 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 blah. But that's not
we
the
get
case
that all
for
the
us.
time. Yeah.
So how did your parents and your family react to that? Maybe also your friends?
So, I mean, all my friends from the academy, they just kind of, they didn't really understand anything. Again, injuries, military can deal with.
Yeah.
Illnesses, no, we can't. And kind of when you're, once you're gone from the academy, it's like you're wiped off the face of the earth, except for a couple people who are like, who keep in contact with you. So, but like trying to explain things to them was a little hard. And then my mom loves to research, go online and research things. So she did all the research. My dad does too.
Yeah.
And so like she learned as much as she could, trying to just look at things logically, but they did have a hard time, especially mom and dad both having like they're like, "Oh, we gave this to you."
Oh yeah, that's feeling of guilt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do remember like a year after transplant or something, my dad. At that time, I was kind of having. That was one of the moments when I was having some issues, and he's like, "Are you mad at us?" I'm like, "No." And being a Christian, we also had the "Are you mad at God?" I'm like, "No, I'm just I don't like this."
Yeah.
Which is normal. No one likes it.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I do remember during transplant sometimes you just the look on my parents' faces would sometimes just be I don't know, just I don't know the best way to describe it, but it like they were sad, just a little like heartbroken. Like we are having to watch our daughter go through a bone marrow transplant, like watching her numbers go all the way to zero, all of my blood counts, and that was hard on them. Um, and so, but they, my family's been very good about learning about FA though, and so they understand enough, and they're always trying to like you said, like, oh, you have a bone marrow transplant, you're good. No, 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 not really.
I got some bad news for you guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you can't blame them because, of course,
No.
they want to see the positive side on this. It'd
Yeah.
be like, to them, it's a very big thing that they imagine what thoughts have been going through their heads when
Yeah.
they get to know that you had FA and you had to go through a transplant.
Yeah.
As a parent, they probably have been devastated and be like,
Yeah.
can we actually end up losing our daughter here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a totally different thing they're going through.
Yep.
So I do get where it can't be easy. I never understood that, I think, before I became a parent myself, just what my parents went through. Because I was like, yeah, it's okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But now, especially, I got diagnosed when I was 5. So when my son turned 5, it was such a weird feeling because I got the test on my 5 years. It was like in Denmark you have to go to a big medical test when you're 5.
Okay.
To figure out if everything's all right, and that is when they discovered I had something. Then like it took me half a year, but to me, 5 years old was not a fun time to be a kid in at all. That was when all the trouble started, and I remember most of it very vividly. So when he turned 5, I just got this feeling that I hope he will never go through something like this. But now that took maybe some weeks or a month, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy that none of my kids have any medical issues, because I wouldn't know how to deal with that as a parent.
Yeah.
Whew. I can be strong when it's about me.
Yeah. I think it is
But
harder on the people around you because it's
yeah.
like when it's you, you're like, okay, we got this one step one step at a time. We're going through this. And but for everyone else, they just watch and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, how can we help you? And I mean, even for the person, like for us, it can be how can you help us? And so it's like, okay, I had a lot of support from my church family at home. And so we just gave a list of some stuff that they could send, like shirts that button up in the front, and snacks, not realizing I have a big sweet tooth, but during transplant, like I lost my sweet tooth and I want salty things. But we had tons and tons of candy that came in. So I ate that when I was feeling
Not
a
bad.
little
Not
better.
bad. Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, that was just like the
But
best way. And I got so many cards from people that my mom and I were just kind of sticking them up, almost wallpapering the hospital room with them.
oh.
So,
No, but yeah, that's a good thing when you're part of a community like that.
hmm
Because I think that it helps people a lot.
yeah,
And people
it
should
does.
never stop. I know a lot of people have that feeling, but oh, but what can I do? I can
Yeah,
write you something, but does it really make a difference? Yes, it does.
yeah, it does.
Maybe not. Maybe you don't sit down and read everything on the
hmm
day you get it, but
hmm
when you're having difficult days and you sit there, you've been reading through
Yep,
this, it actually matters a lot.
yep,
I mean, I don't know how other people feel, but when I had my cancer 10 years
yep.
ago, I was very disappointed in some people
Yeah,
that didn't support at all. People I
yep,
felt I was close with who didn't even make a call
yeah.
through all that those few months where that was going
hmm
on. And I was surprised on people who I haven't talked to in like 15 years or
Yep.
15 years. They suddenly called me and be like, "Man, are you all right?"
hmm
So it was kind of also a way for me to
Yeah.
figure out who's my real friends.
Yep. It is
It's
very
not to be hard. I
polarizing.
know I know it's also difficult for people. And I know people are not evil. It's not because they don't
hmm
care. It's difficult for them too.
Yeah.
But it just does something to you if some
hmm
people don't give a sound when you're going through something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
So
even,
I'm glad you had some strong support. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, my academy friends, like, except for a couple of them, they just kind
Mm.
of fell off the face of the earth. Um,
Mm.
well, during transplant, they were good, but like the moment you got out of transplant, they fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But like my squadron, like they all sent me cards and like a jacket and such, and
Mm.
which was very sweet. But yeah, afterwards it was like, and who? You can't come back to the Air Force? Oh, I don't know who you are anymore. So
Yeah. Like
that was
that's
hard, but
wasn't that? Yeah, that must have been hard
yeah,
because you lost a lot of your friends. Yeah,
yeah,
because of this.
yeah. But at the same time, like it is a very telling someone you have FA can be very polarizing in like you're either
Yeah.
they're either with you or they're not. So you really do get
Mm-hmm.
to know who your friends are. And so I mean that can be hard, but at the same time, it's kind of nice. At the same time, because like once you tell people, you're like, okay, these are my friends. These are the people who are going to be with me. And you don't have to like once you have FA and you go through that, like 10 years down the line when you have an issue, they're with you, and they're not going to be just gone. So
Now, you know they will stick around. If they did
yeah.
that through transplant and through getting to know that you have this diagnosis and all the trouble that might come with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they hold on to you
Yeah.
still after all that, yeah, they'll probably last forever
Yeah.
or something close to, yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
also
that's a
very
good
good to
thing.
get
I
rid
mean,
of boyfriends. You're like, okay, that one definitely was not the right one.
mm,
Because I actually
yeah,
was
that's,
dating someone during transplant, and he came up to visit me during
yeah.
transplant, and first day of like a 5-day trip, he sits down and is like, and my friends think I should break up with you, but I think we should just take a break. What do you think?
I was like, yeah, I need to deal with that right now. Thank you very much.
Like,
Oh,
if you want to be with me, we're staying together. If you don't, see us.
yeah. If
So,
people, I mean, and maybe is a no.
yeah.
If you're not 100% into it, then
Mm-hmm.
just get out.
Yeah. See you later. I don't need
Yeah.
you. Like, so, I mean, that was very, I mean, it was hard at the time, but at the same time, it
Mm.
was like, thank goodness that I didn't end up furthering a relationship with him and like being married to
Mm.
this guy. Because that was the plan at one point. I'm like, whew,
But if he couldn't
dodged a
support
bullet.
you there, I mean, you will get in any marriage, you will get through
Mm-hmm.
some hard times.
Yeah.
I think most people realize that sooner or later. Maybe they don't think they will, but to most people, that's just the reality of
That's what I've
life,
heard.
of being alive. I mean, and you need to have a partner who will
Mm-hmm.
support you through
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I mean, if you don't have that, it will break sooner or later.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, uh, so I feel what you're saying here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not a, it was just nice when you were in the situation. It wasn't. It was like, okay, I didn't need that, but afterwards,
Yeah.
it's like dodging a bullet. It was like, okay, maybe that was for the
Yeah.
best.
Like, oh, thank goodness. Because, yeah.
So, did you move to Houston from Florida
Yes.
because of FA or career or what
It
was it,
was
if I may
more
ask?
career.
Okay.
Yeah, after the Air Force Academy, like I
Mm-hmm.
like 1.5 years, I guess, because I left during the like my fourth semester. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to finish up college. I finished up college in Miami at a civilian school,
Mm-hmm.
at a normal university. Um, and I actually finished up around COVID. So I did like the last couple weeks of my college career at home.
Ah,
Um,
okay, yeah.
but it's probably why I did so well in Orgo too, organic chemistry too. It's because we did it online. We finished it online. So little blessings
Oh
there.
well.
So yeah, then I was looking for places, and I mean, I've always, well, since like high school, I've loved science. I was doing a bio major at the academy,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like genetics. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, hey, you have this rare genetic disorder. It was like, here's your career on a silver platter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought I was going to go and work with one of the FA labs. I had done
Yeah.
an internship with Dr. DeAndrea um,
Mm-hmm.
in 2019, and that was fun. That was great. He is a really good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of figured I would like go somewhere in Boston or Ohio or in Minnesota where like the centers of excellence are.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have some really cool stuff, research going on in Spain, and
Yeah.
there's an Italian group that has some really cool stuff going on too.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow I I was led to Houston. And I don't work in a DNA lab. I work in an RNA lab.
Ah, okay, yeah. How come? Just
Um,
curious.
that's just kind of how like that was it worked out. That's like the job that opened up at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still to this day, I'm like, how in the world did my boss decide, like, he was just starting his lab, um,
Mm-hmm.
and other than our bioinformatician, so our guy who processes all the data and makes all the graphs and all that fun stuff, and we had a graduate student who was rotating in the lab. Other than that, I was I was one of his first hires, and I'm still there. A lot of other people, I'm like the last remaining original person other than my boss. But I didn't realize until going to an RNA conference that my boss is kind of an RNA superstar.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe it was good you didn't notice that in the
yeah,
beginning. So maybe
yeah,
your approach has just been different.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how in the world did he choose me out of anyone he could choose to be in his lab? And now I'm like, technically, I am a research assistant, associate.
Mm-hmm.
I think is one of those A words. Um,
Okay.
but I'm like
Yeah.
unofficially, I'm lab manager. And that's
Mm.
just how everyone in the lab sees me, is as the lab manager. But still, I'm just like, why me? But
You must be good at
especially
what you're doing.
now, I am. Uh, my
Yeah,
boss
but
is very
everybody had to
patient.
start somewhere.
Yeah, I am so glad my boss is so patient. He is a um, wonderful boss.
Mhm.
And we'll get people in the lab who are like, "Oh no, I made a mistake. Like, I'm going to get fired. He's not going to want me back as a grad student." And I'm like, "You're fine. Trust me. I paved the way for you all. I made all the mistakes. Um, I don't think there's much anyone can do that could be much worse than some of the things that I've done." There were also a lot of growing pains since it was his first lab, and
Mm.
trying to organize things and label things and communicate. That was really hard too. Just to kind of find a good foundation there. So that kind of
But you must
probably
have done well.
adds to it
Mm.
eventually. Um,
But, but it sounds like you have gained his trust
yeah,
since you're still there.
yeah,
And if the other people working there also respect you and see you as maybe not by title, but as a manager
yeah,
there, then you must have done something right.
yeah.
I
So
mean, that's kind of cool, isn't it?
yeah,
If you just take a step back, that's actually kind of cool that you work for a
yeah.
man like that, and yeah, you're
Hmm.
doing good.
Yeah, our like protocol is called like eClip. And so
Hmm.
yeah, going to that RNA conference, we'd sit down with other like PIs, they're primary investigators,
Hmm.
which is what my boss is. We'd sit down, talk with other PIs, and they'd be like, "Oh, what lab do you work in?" And you tell them, and they're like, "The clip guy," and you're like, yeah." So, and even nowadays in the lab, when I teach people, or like in the lab surrounding us I have taught how to do our protocol, they're like, "Oh, Anne's the clip master," and I'm like, "Oof, that's that's cool." It feels like a lot more kudos than I feel like I should get, but I know I do a good job. So, so yeah, I've
I
been
mean,
told to do a good
it's
job,
good to be
so
humble, but it's also all right to say, hey, I'm actually good at this.
yeah, I mean, not many people in the world do FA, I mean, not FA, do our protocol. And so I am really good, and that was my PI's goal for me was to be one of the best in the world at doing clips. And like, I think we've kind of met that goal. So, which is
That's
cool.
nice.
Yeah, it makes me
That's
feel like I
something to
have
be
good
proud
job
of.
security.
Now, people who listen to this can't see, but while you're saying this, you're looking almost shy and be like, oh, but that is something to be proud of. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's,
love doing it too. To me, it's fun. Whereas, like, people in other labs, you just mention our protocol and they go running for the hills. They're terrified of doing it. And I'm like, this is fun.
and that is probably why you're good at it.
Probably. And there's even this one step where it's very tedious, where you have to like cut the membrane with a razor blade, stick it into a tube, these itty bitty tiny pieces, and sometimes they go flying everywhere. And it's usually the least favorite part for anyone. And I'm like, I love cutting the membranes. Everyone thinks I'm weird. Even people who do clip, they think I'm weird. But I love doing it. You can just stick headphones in, listen to music or like an audiobook, and you just go at it. To me it's relaxing. It's fun. And I am slightly weird for that, but
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
it's fun.
It's good to be devoted to something. No, but
So,
that is how people become very good at something.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it is to work in a lab at all. But
It's fun.
a lot of people go to work not having fun,
Yeah.
not liking it, and that's gonna be a devastating way to live.
Yeah.
I mean, we all can come out in a situation where we just need the money, and we
Yeah.
just okay, I take whatever I can get just to get through here. But in reality, it just I think it kills your positive energy if you stay in a place like that for too long.
Yeah, definitely.
And that doesn't help you, or your family, or everybody around you. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
stick
I've
to
seen
something
others
you
do that.
love if it's a possibility. Yeah.
And actually, the original idea was to just be a tech in his lab for a bit and then go for my PhD. But like having FA and everything, and like the last time I put myself through something that was more physically demanding, like Air Force Academy, I ended up with FA and a bone marrow transplant. And going through a PhD program, it's kind of like, and it's like, that's another like high demand endeavor. And I know it'll put a lot more stress on my body. And I love what I do now. I make enough to have a comfortable life and have 2 dogs. It's wonderful. So I'm like, I am happy. I'm content. I don't desire to put my body through even more than we already have. Um, so I'm just like, I am perfectly okay not doing a PhD anymore and just being where I am, and doing something that I love. So,
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's all right if people have ambitions of keep going, but when you have something like FA, there's also, I think, a big value in knowing what you got and feeling safe and secure at the place where I mean, I could have changed job a few times too, but I know that where I'm at right now, if I need to go to a medical examination, there's not a single question asked, just yes, of course you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And that just takes a lot of pressure off of my shoulders. I mean,
definitely.
I can just do it without feeling bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have like a saying that if I just tell it at least a month before, if it's normal, it's totally okay, and they will just figure it out. And they'll just maybe it takes 4 hours, then we'll get those 4 hours another day,
Yeah.
and that just helps a lot.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, whew, I'm glad I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to deal with those things.
Yeah. I mean, I've sometimes not given my boss even a month's notice.
Mm.
He's very easygoing, thankfully.
I haven't
So
either because I'm a scatterbrain sometimes. It's in my calendar. I just forget to mention it. It's like, ugh.
I forgot to mention that like in 2 weeks I have this FA event in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I told him in a good enough time frame, I think, this time. So we're working on it. We're trying to be better about this.
Yeah. I mean, are we allowed to? I mean, isn't there something like chemo brain? We're not able to
Yeah.
remember as well as other people.
I mean, it is a thing. Like,
I don't know if I just use it as a bad excuse for being lazy, but I use it.
yeah, I mean, even trying to do college classes before and after transplant, I definitely could tell like couldn't I couldn't do classes like I used to. I didn't function as well. I definitely did not have the same energy. It's like, how could I do all of this? I was like, I did a lot before transplant, and then afterwards, I'm like, oof, I can't be doing like 30 some credit hours and um having a lot of classes and being in like 3 different clubs. Like, I couldn't do it. I had to
Mm.
take the time and rest, and even like on the weekends now, it's like I can't really do tons on the weekend because I need to have that rest time. And I have now accepted that I need the rest time, or else get really nauseous and like I I almost get fever-like symptoms when I do too much. And I don't know if anyone else has that, but like I get chills, I get very like fatigued, kind of
Do you
just like
have that
achy
feeling
yucky.
every day?
Uh Not every day.
Okay,
But
I'm just curious because I definitely feel the same way as people who have been listening to this podcast and have talked to me otherwise.
yeah.
Uh, I was diagnosed in '85, got through,
Mhm.
no, when I was 5, got
Yeah.
the bone marrow transplant in '85 and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But I never knew it could be an FA thing for me to not have any energy in the
Mhm.
afternoon. It wasn't before I got back into this community and learned,
Yeah.
oh, you still have FA. In
Yeah.
14, I didn't know it was normal for other people with FA.
Mhm.
I couldn't understand why
Yeah.
people around me had all that energy. I mean, it's like, it's 2
Mhm.
o'clock. Where the hell did that
Yeah.
energy come from? I mean, how can you just keep going the whole day without
Mhm.
getting tired? I mean, like 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm a very, very big friend of coffee and energy drinks. I shouldn't
I
be, but
can't
I
do
am.
coffee anymore. Like coffee caffeine is like bad for me. My hands start shaking.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
hard
that's
to
probably
play
not
pet
good.
when you have shaking hands. So,
Makes sense.
and then like I'm
So,
like wired and
mhm.
boing 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 boing.
Yeah, okay, I feel.
It's
No,
not
I
a good
just.
boing. It's just I don't know if that makes sense. It's not good
I don't
energy.
know either. No, okay.
It's not the best energy. It's very jittery and sometimes even borders on anxiety. Sometimes.
Yeah, okay, that's not the best kind of energy. No,
Yeah, not the best boing.
I think you're right about that. But either I need to sleep,
Yeah.
or I need some energy. And with 3 kids, I have to go pick up every day because my wife works later than me every day, so I have to pick them up from kindergarten and school every day.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I go get them and we get home, they're like, "Oh, Daddy, it's playtime," and I'm like, "No, I'm dead, but I'm gonna do it anyway." So no, I'm not gonna go in there and just be like, "Okay, you just go and play," and then I take half an hour sleep. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, oh, I got a Monster in the fridge. I would just go get that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm good to go, kids.
For me, it's, I have a ginger ale. We're gonna drink that, and then we won't be as nauseous, and we can keep on going with life. Because especially having one of my dogs he's now 2, but he's a mini Aussie.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's a mini, he has the energy of, he has 2 speeds, which are off and supersonic. If I had like 1% of the energy he has, I could rule the world. And just sometimes trying to handle all of that energy, even though it's a dog. It's just a lot.
No, but dogs need your attention.
They do. And he's kind of glaring at me right now because he's not getting his attention.
Yeah, I told my dog I have a Labrador, so I'm totally a dog person too. It's like, yeah.
The other one just sleeps.
I don't
he's
know.
18 years old. He just sleeps all the time. He doesn't care. Let me feed me. 18.
How old is he? 18?
Yeah.
Oh, that's old.
Yeah. I got him when I was in middle school, so I've had him for 15 years, and he was like 2 or 3 when I got him. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna lose him last year, but when I got the Aussie and then changed him to more of like a homemade diet, he's like, "We're back." I'm like, "Okay,
nice.
I'll take that."
my Labrador is 14 and a half now, and he's old now. Okay, no doubt about it, but he's doing all right for that age. You know, just like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have told my family that he will have to get to at least 25 years old. They're like, that can't be done. So I looked up in the Guinness Books of Records, and there's actually one Labrador who became, I think, was like 25 or 26 years old.
There you go.
So I was like, it's possible. They're like,
make sure you feed him right and get all the nutrients. And
they're like, look at him. He's almost deaf now.
Yeah.
And he's not walking that well. It's like, but he made a promise. No, Dad. No, Dad. You decided he should. It's like, okay. Probably not going to happen, but it could happen.
Yeah. Mine doesn't walk all that well either. And I think he can like see shadows. He can like see stuff, but not like well, and his hearing isn't as great. But he still will sit there with a huge grin on his face, ears perked up, and like the minute someone comes to show him love, he's like, "Oh yes, love me, pet me, love me, feed me. I am happy as a clam."
For people who don't have pets, that doesn't make sense at all. But it's nothing better than, I mean, sometimes when I get home and he just happens to see me just like rolling on the back and be like, "Hey, Dad." It's like, "Aww."
Yeah, mine like runs to the door and just jumps up and, well, the young one jumps up and down, up and down, up and down, and then runs and runs and runs and jumps and runs. It's nice to have, like, it's a lot of energy, yeah, but it's very nice to have that when you come home. So they're my sanity and sometimes my insanity. Usually sanity.
Yeah, dogs are good.
Yeah.
I mean, if people have FA and don't have pets, just go get a pet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if it's a fish that you can watch.
I don't know if that would help me a lot. We had fish when I grew up. It's like I can stare at them, but nah. I need to be able to pet them. And fish doesn't like that.
No.
They don't like being picked up and being pet. No.
No, they don't. I mean, scientifically, they actually can help reduce stress by watching them. But does it do what a dog and a cat can do? Not really.
Nah.
They definitely
I could imagine if you actually sit down and just be
watch
watching them,
them.
but no, I have
Yeah.
no, I have too much. I
Yeah.
can't sit still. I've never got. I don't know if I got ADHD, but I always had a feeling that if I took the test, maybe I would have. So no, that wouldn't work for me. Just being like,
Yeah.
staring at the fish. No. I need a
Yeah.
dog that I can roll around and fight with on the floor.
Yeah. Give them pets and snuggles and
Yeah.
yeah.
At least that's how I feel. But if you have a fish out there and you're happy about it, hey, feel free.
They
If it
can be
works for you,
wonderful.
it works for you. Yeah.
It didn't end so well for me, but I had one that ate all
Okay.
the other ones, so I tried to kill that one, but
You did not buy a piranha, right?
no, that was when my brother and I had cichlids, African cichlids, which are a little bit more aggressive. But normally with other cichlids they're fine, but every once in a while you just get this one that eats the rest.
You get that one lunatic.
Yes. We had a couple of those. We actually gave we were able to give one of those fish to a pet store, and my brother's friend apparently worked there, and he's like, yeah, he ate all the other fish in the tank. I'm like,
No, that's not really funny, but it's still. Were you the guys who delivered that insane fish? No.
not my fish now.
You can't prove anything.
Not my problem. He is no longer my monkey. Not my circus, not my monkeys. It is not my monkey.
Now we'll do the worst segue ever made. Because we usually talk about death. No, not by fish, okay? Oh no, I'm trying to be serious here. That's good to be able to laugh. Oh. So now you know that you have FA and your family knows about it and your friends knows about it. Do you how do you deal with the possibility that you might not have a long life?
I just enjoy what I have. And like I'm to the point where I'm okay with that. And I've just kind of come to the conclusion that no matter how long I have, if I just live life, enjoy life, and then just try to invest in people's lives. Like, I feel like the most important thing that someone can do is to invest in another person's life, because that can make a world of difference. And then if you make that difference with someone and they can make difference in another person's life, and it's just kind of like that like Disney ripple effect.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a good way to look at it, because I'm pretty sure when having and dealing with FA, you could definitely sit down and find something to be sad about.
Yeah.
Or something to fear. But what do you gain by doing so?
You lose a lot of friends.
It doesn't add to your life.
You lose a lot of friends.
Huh? Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely, if you do that. I mean, it's better to focus on the time you have. I used that as a fuel when I was very young.
Yeah.
Because I lost a very good friend of mine. He didn't have FA, but when you go to the hospital system and you're very young, I was often when I was at the hospital, I was on the same room as other kids who were sick and had all kind of illnesses.
Yeah.
And I lost one of them when I was like 11. That was the first time for me losing anybody in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very difficult. But I used that as fuel later on to say, do I want to do this? No, he did never get the chance to try this out in life. I have to try. I have to go do something. I feel like it was a way to honor him.
Yeah, definitely.
To keep going and finding something positive in life. Even when I had like the teenage years, I have a few years where I didn't feel very good about myself or my life.
Yeah.
So I used that. It's like, no, you can't feel sorry for yourself because you actually got the second chance he never got.
Yeah.
So I think that. So
Yeah.
you need to. You don't. I keep saying you need to. No, you don't need to. People can react whatever they want. I mean, but I think you're onto something. The way you look upon things.
I feel like finding joy is a choice. You can wallow in self-pity and you're not going to be happy. The people around you won't be happy. Life will be miserable. Or you can try to find the joy in everything. Even even back in college when when a squirrel would just cross the path and it was just so fun to watch it. And you're like, that brings me joy. So even if I was having a bad day and I just see a squirrel scampering across the road, like the sidewalk, I chose to soak that in, enjoy it, and be like, okay, life isn't bad. There are good things. So
I agree with you. I can't imagine a situation where I wouldn't be able to find one positive thing that happened to me that day.
Yeah.
Even if everything went wrong and I went home and I watched a TV show and then that was the good thing. I actually got the chance to sit down, put my brain in a jar and just relax for a few moments.
Yeah.
So at least that was positive. And I tried to teach my son that. The too small is not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But the last thing we do every night, that is I ask him about what has been a good thing happening to you today. What has been a good experience?
Yeah.
And sometimes just like him playing with one of his mates, sometimes something that happened at home doesn't matter to me. Yeah. And he very quickly he started asking me back, what was the big thing for you today? So that's kind of the thing we have going on that we do every night. And I like that because it also means a lot to me because it helped. It's like you need to train new things, new abilities. So if you train yourself to look for the good things, you start to see them more throughout the day.
Yeah.
I start to get in a situation where I think I will pick this one tonight when I talk to my son.
Yeah.
And then you go on and there's another thing that's like, oh, which one should I choose?
Yeah. And you're looking for them. Like if you're actively looking for them, you will find them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's, yeah. I like that way of thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just fighting back joy.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. Yeah. I know we can all have the days where we're totally off.
Yeah. I mean, and it's
we do have a lot to think about every now and then, okay?
Yeah.
But
definitely.
But still, it's possible.
It is.
So let me go to the next part about happiness. You talked about your happy face dog. It's like, woohoo, I'm happy you're home. But otherwise, what makes you happy in life? What do you enjoy doing?
So just being with my people and my dogs, always brings me joy and happiness. Especially like being with, I say my boys, because the two dogs are both boys, and then my boyfriend also. I am not a boy, I am a man. Like, then you don't get to be one of my boys. Yeah, just having all my boys around, and they just calm me, relax me. We do stuff, take the dogs to the dog park, and that's just so fun. Especially the old dog. He's a Pomeranian. He's always been prissy, and like, oh, there's a little dew on the grass. We're not gonna go in there. Um, but they have these water features at the dog park we go to, and he just makes a beeline for them and just stands in the fountains. And it's so fun to see that. Like, even he's living it up in his
Why?
old age. He's finding joy. I am finding joy watching him do that. Um, so yeah, definitely my people and my boys. I also like to do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of crafts. And in the past couple years, I've gotten into um, decorating sugar cookies. So baking and decorating them, like those fancy
Ah,
ones
yeah.
you see. Um,
I I think your boyfriend loved that part.
I don't let him in
Am
my
I right?
kitchen anymore. He's actually diabetic, so
Oh, that is almost cruel.
yeah, he will try.
That was the one hobby you chose, right? No.
Well, my parents told me that I had to stop baking because they were getting fat, so I decided that, in their words, um, they're not getting fat. Anyways, so I was like, okay, I can make a loophole here, do baking, but my mom had always wanted to do these sugar cookie wreaths to send out for Christmas to family. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I'm going to learn how to do it so that we can do these wreaths and send it out. And it just kind of became a thing I do. And I love trying to like pair flavors and like even last weekend my boyfriend and I and some friends were at a Turkish like cafe sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we got Turkish coffee. And we sat down, tried it, and I'm like, this would be a really good cookie. So I mixed that up on Thursday, and hopefully today I can bake them. But they they seem like they're going to be like really really good. But it's just always fun to find different ingredient pairs, and even making cookies and giving them to people. It brings them joy, which of
Mm-hmm.
course brings me joy. Um, so other people being happy makes me happy, especially if I'm the reason
Mm.
why they're happy or like my baking is. So so yeah, baking. I do a lot of
So
crafts.
that does bring you happiness.
It does. It's
Yeah,
so much
it's
fun.
a good thing.
Yeah.
That's the way my wife feel about cooking in general.
Mhm.
She's sometimes be like, "Don't you get stressed when we have guests over?" And she's like, "No, you will never. No matter
Mhm.
how many people coming over, you can see she's having fun doing it."
Mhm.
And she
Cooking is a love
sometimes is
language.
just like, "Oh, I wanna." She didn't just figure out to do something beside what she was doing, like a side dish or something, and
Mhm.
then she starts doing that immediately. When I mean, I was like, "You already planned so much. How could you?" But somehow she always end up with a good result
Mhm.
without being stressed or anything. It's
Mhm.
like, so if we're going baking or something with the kids, oh, she's the one taking care of that part because
Yeah.
I do not. Uh, my stress level just go up 2,000% if I'm gonna sit there with three kids
Yeah.
and they're like touching me everything. I can't work with that. And
Yeah.
she's just like totally calm and just explaining stuff to them, and
Mhm.
they're just like they love going into the kitchen with her because they're like, oh, it's our favorite part because you're always so happy when you're there. It's like,
That's so cute.
so, so I get that.
Yeah.
That feeling of giving something that people can
Mhm.
enjoy
Yeah.
and appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah. I've kicked my boyfriend out because he's dropped cookies and tried to kill my mixer before. So he didn't realize that beating the butter and the sugar together, you have to actually soften the butter beforehand. So he's going to put the butter in like straight from the fridge. And then he started
Oh.
having difficulties. I'm like,
What are you doing?
he's like, it just says put the butter and the sugar in and to beat it. And I'm like, you can't just do that. Like, no, please no. I'm gonna kill my nice mixer that my friend gave me. So, which makes me more protective of it. Because my friend gave me it, so. But yeah, and even like doing the tiny details, just like with at work, doing that part that everyone hates. I love those tiny details when I'm decorating the cookies. And you make something that tastes good, and then you make something that looks good, and then it just like doubles the happiness for people. So
now I know that you love doing these things, and I know your boyfriend is diabetic, so you shouldn't pressure him into eating anything that's not good for him. But I'm just mentioning here that we have a meeting in 14 days after this recording in North Carolina. I'm just saying that if you bring cookies or something like, feel free. Do not hold back.
Well, I have these Turkish ones that should be done soon, so you never know. I do have a lot of cookies that I need to. We have a lot of cookie thank yous to give to people. So, yeah, I might be doing a good bit of baking in the next couple days, but it's fun. I love it.
I'm not good at making anything, but I'm good at eating.
I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah.
He's like, I might not be able to do it, but I can definitely taste test for you. I'm like, that is great. Because I need taste testers. As long as you're going to be honest. So.
The first thing I did when I figured out when we were going to stay in North Carolina, that was actually figuring out who I knew who was from that area.
Yeah.
And I was like, wrote one of the other FAs, Carly, I was like, oh, you need to send me the address of a few good restaurants with local food that is really good, because I'm going in on Wednesday. I need to go out and get something that is not from the hotel, because that's usually not extraordinarily good. I was like, oh, you need to help me out here. That was the first thing I did. I was like, I need to go out, have a good dinner.
Yeah. The wonderful thing is that my boyfriend is from there. Well, a couple hours away from there. So he already has like, we need to do this, and I'm like, I don't know, we're gonna have that time. But
that's
he has some
good.
things that he wants to do, and like his dad will be joining us too, so it'll be my parents and I and him and his dad. So I'll meet his dad in person for the first time.
How long have you been together?
It's been a long time. Fall of 2021. So it's been.
Okay. So it's not totally new.
No, it's not. He just doesn't. He doesn't really like to travel much. Which I'm like, if we're gonna like for this relationship to work, you're gonna have to go to the FA events, like the conferences with me. You're gonna have to go to my doctor's appointments with me, and you're gonna have to go see the family with me. So you are required to travel. So she is accepted. And he's really excited about North Carolina. So, yeah. Hopefully this will all go very well. So I do.
Yeah, it makes it all more exciting that he is looking forward to it too.
Yeah. In Austin, he did kind of bond with one FA person, and that person is no longer here. And I just felt really, really bad about that, because I'm like, the person that you connected with. Yeah.
That is the very harsh reality.
Yeah.
And the thing we maybe not talk about too often.
Yeah.
I was sitting on Facebook today on my phone, and my son was like, what is that? And I did a post because we just lost a dear friend, Jack Timberley, who I also made an episode with like 5 years ago. Man, I was devastated to hear that news.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was this picture where my son was like not even a year old, and he was sitting on the floor looking up at Jack, who was playing around with a lightsaber with Jacob, who we lost 2 years ago. And I was like, but who are they? And I was like, oh, how to explain this?
Yeah.
It's like, yay. I just took the brief version, but it was like, man,
yeah.
And that is what you gain a lot being a part of the FA society.
Yep.
But it's also very difficult sometimes.
Definitely.
So that's part of it. And then your boyfriend will get those experiences too. Same with my wife, because she has also made a lot of the FAs where we've been there. And it's just, that's the part we try to avoid thinking about most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, we usually also have some good laughs when we're there.
Yeah. Especially like, we all kind of have that like dark sense of humor. Which is like, to the rest of the world, it's like, how in the world are you laughing at like these things? It's just like, when you have something like FA, you just develop this like, it's reality, and you have to find some way to laugh about it. And we do.
Oh, yeah.
All of us do.
Yeah, we have...
it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's not just... I don't know if people have never been something like that they think we just sit around in the corner at the hotel and be looking sad and be like, oh, this is terrible news. It's more like, okay, we do go to the lessons, and we need to learn some new stuff about how can we, what can we do to stay more healthy and do something for ourselves. How do we prevent cancers, or at least discover them way earlier?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff like that, but there's also a lot of laughs and people going out for dinners. Playing cards against humanity. Stay up late. Going to the swimming pool is like, that's also a thing. When we meet, I was like, oh, when are we going to meet at the pool?
Yeah, I think my parents were a little frustrated last time that I would stay up really late to hang out with all the FA people, and then sometimes I was just so tired that I could not make some of the meetings, and I would just go and sleep, and everyone was like, my parents, mostly, anyways, they're like, you're supposed to be here to learn stuff. I'm like, I'm supposed to also be here to be with my FA people. So...
Or you just have to tell them, I learned so much for talking to the other people at the FA.
I mean, you do, but I also enjoy the science part. But yeah. Or like even like with women with FA who have had kids, and it's always interesting to hear their experiences. Because hopefully someday, maybe I can have some, but if not, I am going to be a crazy dog person. My boyfriend knows that. He has accepted that. He knows
Nothing wrong about being a crazy dog person.
We'll own like 2 or 3 dogs, and then we're going to foster more. Even if we have kids, we're fostering dogs. I don't care. He knows. He has accepted his fate.
Yeah, I think that's a totally reasonable demand.
I think so. Dogs make the world a better place. So.
Yep.
Maybe
I won't argue.
So yeah, it's that.
And it has been a great conversation. It's the first time I really had the chance to get to know you and hear your story, and that is part of what I love about doing this. You get the chance to tell your story, but it's also for me a way to get to know other people. I always come out of this having this feeling that I have gained something positive, getting to know other people. So I enjoy that a lot. But I don't know if you have any advice or anything you want to say to your parents or people out there who are just getting diagnosed, or is there something you have on your mind that you haven't said?
I guess I would just say to like, there's always hope to be found. There's always hope and joy to be found. And when it just gets rough, that's what you need to hold on to, is that joy and hope for a better tomorrow, especially being in science research is one of those hopes. Like, I hope in the science will get better. And I mean, that's what I do for a living. But
Yeah, you're actually
yeah,
doing something. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I wish I could do like more like actually with FA stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I can drag some people, some researchers in, or drag my boss in. I think he knows that I want to drag him into the FA world, but
He's not there yet.
it's gonna happen. It will happen.
Ah, I
Even if I
love
have to
that
slap
confidence.
my poster up on some random piece of wall in North Carolina to make people be like,
uh,
hey, maybe
now
this could be
that
really interesting.
now that's probably the spirit you show there. That is the reason he chose you. Yeah, I could get it. But he might be famous. He might be a big fish, but I can get him to do what I want. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the crazy one in the lab. I feel like it's expected of me to like do something crazy every once in a while, even if it's something like, I don't care what they say. I'm just gonna slap this up here. Or like I like to
Uh,
hide eggs around the lab for Christmas, for Easter time, and until like a
mhm.
couple weeks ago, they still hadn't found some of them. So I finally just like grabbed them all for them. So we had eggs hiding there for a while. I've done a lot of
So
crazy
people
things in the
found them
lab.
every now and then, or
Uh,
so people have just been going around since Easter still finding eggs.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, they like to raid my candy drawer. Again, I have a sweet tooth. I usually have a pretty well stocked candy drawer, and I'm like, guys, there's still 3 eggs out there. Why in the world are you raiding my candy drawer when you could go find those eggs? And they're like, Anne, we can't find them. I'm like, fine, I will give them to you. So I just walk over, grab it. They're like, yeah, we
But
wouldn't have
yeah,
found that.
how big is that lab?
Um, People wise, we have like 9 people, um, give or take. And
I mean,
if we have
how
a
many
rotation
places
student.
can you hide an egg in a
Um,
lab?
so since we're not as big about things needing to be like RNA free, I have more options. So I will admit that I have we have like this a sonicator, so it just like helps break down DNA and such in cell pellets. But I like open like I didn't like put it anywhere where like actual sciencey stuff happens, but like in like there's like a tube in this chamber, and the samples like are in tubes in the tube. So I put it like around like in the chamber, but so if that makes any sense. But
Did you expect anybody to find it there?
they found that one.
Oh,
Um,
they did.
yeah, it was. They didn't find some that I had taped under things. The only way, so the one I had taped one to like the door to the lab, that was covered with all the lab coats, and the only way that that one got found was when I was walking in and out. It fell down, and I'm like, no one, like everyone, of course, like turns and looks at me. I'm like, no one saw this. They're like, you found it, you get to keep them. I'm like, okay. I put one in the ceiling last year. Like it was there was a grate. You could, like, if you looked, you could see the red egg, but no one looked hard enough.
Because they didn't expect it.
No, they now know to expect the
I love you
unexpected.
just going all out with that.
It's so much fun,
Okay.
especially having internationals who've never done it before. They find so much joy in it. Again, it's fun to like find joy for yourself and other people. It brings me joy. It brings them joy. And it gives us all a sugar
Now I
rush.
get the feeling why you're talking about being the crazy person in the lab.
I have plans.
And it has been such a big pleasure talking to you. I've learned so much.
You need some pranks, let me know. I'm the one to
I
come
think
to.
I know who's the right person to go to now.
It was in the Air Force. It's kind of what we do.
Oh, so people with FA, when you're going to the, if you're going to the, or if you, I don't know when the episode will come out, maybe we have already been in North Carolina. If weird things did happen to you while we were there, now you have your answer.
If you get glitter bombed, shaving creamed, something random, I don't plan on anything weird. Yet.
Yet.
Now I might have to think of things. It's a good challenge.
Yeah. Is it challenge accepted or?
No,
I didn't talk you into anything.
TBD. We'll see. I would take a challenge. I'm always like, oh, challenge accepted. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't, but, you know. We'll see.
We'll see. And with that, have a great day out there. Thank you for listening.